mood to listen to me. So once again, thanks to Zero. Without them, it's very, very hard to do this sort of stuff. We rely on a lot of volunteers. Ruth is a phenomenon, and Kath at the back is chomping away, making this possible. So thanks to all of you, thanks to Zero. Today I'm going to talk about two things. So for the Summer of Code students, in your bag you will have a Strengths Finder book. And you didn't get one because you got it last year. So I'm going to explain what that's all about and why you need to do that test and follow up with that. And second of all, I'm going to talk about career paths, quite general terms. So I sent out an email to a few people across the industry and got their thoughts on this, and these are sort of some of the encapsulation of those thoughts and some of my own thinking in regard to your career. So you're at the start of your career. Is it a random collection of jobs, or is there a plan? What can you do? So we're going to talk about that stuff. So first off, before we go forward, we need to go back. So we've been on a long, long journey. So first of all, a lot of you students there did a resume, a profile, and sat the test. Then went through some of the boot camps, meet and greet. So we had something like over 120 people there. We had 300 interviews in 2 days. So it was pretty full on, pretty scary for a lot of people. And then we did our magic matching. So a lot of you got matched in the pre-session, and then afterwards we've actually matched another 14 after the Summer of Code. So it's companies coming in last minute and go, hey, actually I do want somebody. So that's all good. So a few made it, so made it here. And thanks to all of you. One, for putting up with us, because we try and get things done, but it doesn't always go as planned. So it's really great that you're here and part of it. So right, on to Strengths Finder. So for those that don't know, as part of Summer of Code, we're all about trying to develop people's abilities. So some of that is self-awareness. Strengths Finder is a tool that you can figure out your self-awareness. So what do you do with this stuff? Well, here's a great picture of evidence here about self-awareness. It's about who you are, right? So if you don't know who you are, what you're all about, and more importantly, what makes you stand out, it's going to be really, really hard for you to work in a job, right, and to do well, because you don't actually know what you're capable of. No? We all have special abilities. Right? Strengths Finder is to help you discover what makes you stand out. So for those that have got the book, what you need to do is go to the online test. It takes about 20 minutes. You need a consistent internet connection, because if you don't, it's a timed test and they do stuff like this. You have problems. We had a couple of students last year on a really dodgy internet connection and complained that they had some issues. So you want to go and take that online. What it comes back with is one of the 32 different types of strengths. Notice this is not Myers-Briggs, okay? This is about innate abilities that you have, right? So you might be really good at persuading people, right, which is like woo. Or you could be really good at learning or harmony. You manage to settle things down, right? So these are innate skills that you have, all right? Last year, when we got our students to take them, absolutely on the money in terms of their case. So from the book, you're going to find out insights on your strengths. Right, so what are they? You're going to get a PDF that's going to tell you about your combination and all that sort of stuff. It's going to give you tips on how to improve that, right? So that's really, really good, because if you can figure out what you can do to improve your strengths, then you're going to have a much better time at doing your job, because it's going to match the stuff that you're actually good at. So that's really, really important. Also, for those managers out there, it's going to tell you how do you relate to people who have these skills. What can you do to actually help them? Alright, really, really important. So I actually recommend that as a students, you find out this stuff, that you actually share it with your managers, so because you want them to help you get better at the stuff you're good at. Right? It's really, really important. As an example, this is me. So I'm an ideas person, I like to learn, I'm quite competitive, I'm an activator, I start stuff. And significance means I want attention. Right? Sounds like a bit like an entrepreneurial type person. That's pretty much an entrepreneurial profile. If I went through and it'll say you like starting things and doing things, right? My wife, very, very different. She has a profile where she's a doer. She gets an idea and actually gets it to completion, right? So very, very different skills. This is all about that self-awareness. The more you know about yourself, the better you can do. So absolutely, doesn't take you long. Go and do it. Do it now. Not now. In a while. Right. So, next part of the talk is about the career game. So, it is a game, there are rules. Right? So, you've got to know how all this stuff works. A lot of people think of their career path as a succession. Right? I'm following this path. I'm jumping from this job to that job to the next one. Right? They think it forms a linear pattern. But it may not be so. Alright? If I look at myself, I've worked here in New Zealand, Australia, US, UK. Alright? There's a friend of mine that knows me very, very well. They said to me, I never ever thought that you would have ended up spending a couple of years in India. And I went and said, well, at the same time, I never would have guessed it. Right? But that's what happened. So, don't think that you're going to get this job here and it's going to follow a linear progression. You never know what's going to happen. Alright? So finding the right job I think, needs to fall down into these three places. So it's whatever you're interested in, your passion. Alright? What you're good at and your job, if you can get them all those three things lined up, then you're going to do something remarkable. Alright? So it's got to be where you can actually make a difference. So that's really, really important to find that right job. Alright? This is a quote, or these two slides are a quote from Steve Jobs. He said, you cannot connect dots looking forward. You can only connect them by looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something. Your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever. This approach has never let me down and has made all the difference in my life. Steve Jobs. He said this at the commencement speech at Stanford in 2007. 2006. So he's talking to people like yourselves who are starting out, getting their first job, starting their career. There's not always a plan to this, right? So it's trying to understand those options. So I want to talk about three different career paths that you can take. Three rules. So what are they? Well, you can be an employee. You could be a consultant, like Mr. Wolf. Or you can be a startup, work in a startup, or an early startup employee. So unfortunately Mr. Bill Gates is shielded there, but that's Microsoft 1978. Alright, I'm going to look at it, break it down into sections. So I'm going to look at some of the key skills you need in each one of those areas. Career development as you go in there, where the responsibility is. What are some of the benefits and some tips for getting ahead? So first we're going to jump into an employee. Some of the key skills of being an employee is people skills. Right? You need to be able to get on with people. You need to understand how to work with others. Right? So understanding that is really, really important. This combined with you have to understand the business process. No matter what job you're doing as an employee, you need to understand how what you're doing fits in with that business. Right? Because if you don't do that, then you're just one cog in a big wheel, right? And you're never going to make a difference because you don't understand how you can actually make that difference, right? You're just doing, I'm turning the light switch, like Homer. Now Homer replaces his job with a chicken. It pecks the button, right? So you've got to make sure you actually understand what your business is doing because then you can make a difference. So when we think about career development, like if I'm going to accelerate my career as an employee, well, actually, it's a partnership, right? You're actually working with the company to make a difference. So, pretty much with an employee's training is an option, right? So you go on training courses and all that sort of stuff. I'll talk about the other types of jobs where that's not quite often possible.